Are you serious? Are you serious? Okay, it's time for the post-Christmas woes. That's right. Pope Francis is now crying the winds of war are about to happen. Very upset, no doubt, about the decision that President Trump made to declare Jerusalem the eternal city of God, the city of the great king, which is actually in the Bible, which is in Psalms chapter 48, and in reference to everyone from every nation will come to Jerusalem to worship the king, the Messiah, Yeshua, in Zechariah 14:16. Even Jesus Christ himself in the great Sermon on the Mount declared that you were never to swear by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. The eternal city of God should not be a problem in being the capital of its nation of Israel, the prophetically declared nation by God himself and then President Harry S. Truman. Well, and then voted on by 197-0 confirmation. But the United Nations forgets what they agreed to 70 years ago. Matter of fact, crying the winds of war blowing around the world, Pope Francis, in his traditional Christmas message on Monday, called for a two-state solution to find the peace in the Middle East. Now, they didn't want the two-state solution when the opportunity was there in 1997. It was on the table, and Yasser Arafat said, no, give us all of the Holy Land or none. Then in 2000, the same offer was there. The Palestinians said no. Now, with it slipping away, the Pope gets involved and is trying to call for a two-state solution. Now, I was in Jerusalem in June of 2016, sitting at Rabbi Yehuda Glick's office. Across the desk from him, you can see the interview. I put it on television. It was also my YouTube channel, where I bring up the two-state solution, that there were 20 countries in Paris, France, as we were speaking, that were drafting a forced two-state solution on Israel. And the Rabbi Yehuda Glick, a member of the Knesset, slammed his desk and said, I don't want to hear it. The two-state solution is dead. They had their chance. They rejected it. They don't want it. Well, the Pope says he has now taken particular aim at the areas of global tension where President Donald Trump is playing a very critical role. Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital has ignited new violence in the Middle East, while confrontation with North Korea over its nuclear test has escalated tensions in South Asia. The winds of war are blowing in our world, and an outdated model of development continues to produce human, societal, and environmental decline, says the Pope in his traditional Christmas Day message. He sends blessings from the central balcony overlooking St. Peter's Square with 50,000 faithful packed into the square. As Christians celebrate the birth of Christ yesterday, the Pope depicted suffering reflected in the faces of little children, citing war and other tensions in the Middle East and Africa. But remember, folks, President Donald Trump did not cause the Arab Spring. There's no accountability here for President Barack Obama and his sidekick, Hillary Rodham Clinton. The Arab Spring came from the American apologizing president, Barack Hussein Obama, who went around the world apologizing for the policies and doctrines of the United States, and then encouraged the uprisings in Tunisia to overthrow Ben Ali. He called for the overthrow of 32-year president who had kept the peace with Israel for 32 years of Hosni Mubarak, and in 18 days they overthrew him. He forced the overthrow of the butcher Muammar Gaddafi. It took 6 months, but with the U.S. no-fly zone, it was finally done in Libya. He called for the end of the regime of Ali al-Saleh in Yemen. And he encouraged the civil war of Syria and called for the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad. And he left millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of hardware, tanks, armored vehicles, rocket launchers and rockets, Toyota Tundras, supplies, and $400 million in cold, hard American cash in a bank vault in Mosul. He pulled his troops out of Iraq, left all of this hardware there with a 14-month head start prediction he was leaving, and created ISIS, who then have completely created a Middle East in a state of madness. No, folks, President Trump's decision to declare Jerusalem the city of the great king, the capital of Israel, which Israel's been calling it their capital for 70 years. And the fact that he said, I'm moving the embassy after the U.S. Congress and even President Bill Clinton signed it into law 22 years ago. No, President Trump is not creating the chaos of the Middle East. It was his predecessor and many before him. It was the United Nations. It's been the anti-Semitism. It's been the constant fueling of hatred. And now even the Pope of Rome is calling the winds of war blowing. No, I think it's kind of sad, really. If you study biblical prophecy, though, you knew that this was going to happen. It's called the cup of trembling, the burdensome stone for all people. And all of the people who burden themselves with Jerusalem will be broken into pieces, though all the world come against Jerusalem. I'm quoting scripture from the book of Zechariah, chapter 12, verses 1, 2, and 3. And even the Lord said he would seek to destroy all nations that come against Jerusalem. Zechariah 12, 8 and 9. Yeah. I have to say, this time the Pope making his insinuations that somehow it is Trump's fault that the Middle East is in a state of madness. Believe me, they were chopping Christians' heads off ISIS and butchering people all over the Middle East way before Trump ever decided to even run for president, let alone move his embassy. Now, what you're witnessing is fulfillment of biblical prophecy. And it will get worse, folks. And when they say peace and safety, then come a sudden destruction. We're in the last days. And all the finger pointing and all of the comedians on television and everybody in the mainstream fake news media and all even the backslidden Christians who don't understand the Bible, who constantly are upset because biblical prophecies are being fulfilled, which I can't help. I mean, it's not what do you want me to do? I can't stop it from happening. Jesus is coming back. No. People are upset because they can't control what God has already put into motion. The thing to do, though, is get yourself right with God, and then you can live in the joy and the peace and walk in the blessing and be blessed and highly favored of God. I'll be back with more current world events and how they relate to biblical prophecy. Yeah, I've had some days off here to kind of rest up during the holiday season. Man, I'm fresh and ready. So you don't want to miss my show today because I'm raring to go. I'll be going live today at 12 noon Eastern and again live tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. And I'm just going to absolutely just come unhinged with the good news of Jesus Christ. I'll get you up to speed on all the current world events. We'll take them all on. See you at 12 noon Eastern. Are you serious? Where's my coffee?